Headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
To something else around Ukraine. The question is whether we should be doing more. And there are, of course, the complex issues about NATO and whether or not there should be a no-fly zone. You saw the Freudian slip there where I said war, no-fly zone. No doubt we'll be talking about that. But I want to turn to you, Benjamin Butterworth, which is really about this, the extent to which sanctions, artistic sanctions and other things actually make a difference. There's a difference between, stopping the money supply into Russia and stopping the Bolshoi ballet coming here, and whether or not that makes any difference. Should the West be doing more in terms of those sorts of sanctions?
Do you know, I agree with a lot of these things. They haven't quite been kicked out of the World Cup yet, but I think they certainly should be, rather than just other countries refusing to play them. So I think inevitably they won't be in the World Cup, by proxy at least. I think kicking them out of Eurovision was the right thing, and a lot of people seem to think that was meaningless. But these big cultural opportunities are things that reach the people.
Yeah.
Now, in today's paper, I reported that the International Cat Federation, you'll be familiar, which is the world's biggest cat fancier society.
In the middle of a day of real heaviness, where all I can think of Mrs. Slocum, I have to tell you.
Benjamin's now going to tell you all about his pussy.
Thank you, you said it. Carry on.
Indeed. So the Cat Fancier Society, they have banned, so this is a huge organisation. They refer to themselves as the United Nations of Cats. And they have banned cats born in Russia or owned by Russians from competing in the international cat competitions, because they said, in their words, they're shocked and appalled by the attacks on Ukraine.
My brilliant producer, Timothy, is standing there crossing his arms. And bear in mind, he wants heavyweight conversations going, like, what is going on? Right.
But I think this is now, it's a big question about where do you draw the line? How far does it go? I think some of the supermarkets have banned Russian vodka in the past couple of days.
Well, I think that's very important. And I want to give a real shout out to my friend Sarah Willingham, who in a very short period of time did exactly the same thing, and they've been making Ukrainian cocktails across the country, and not just that, sending all of the proceeds from that cocktail to Ukraine. I think that sort of thing, which is a real part of the economy, makes a big difference, but I'm not sure about the
it is, but does banning Russian cats or even banning Russian vodka in, high street supermarkets?
Well, I don't, sorry, I'm not going to go down the Mrs. Slocum road.
No,
I promise you, Rob, no, I'm not, but it is a Friday night, it's so tempting.
Yeah, no, one pussy is enough.
As the actress said to the bishop. Any case, I have been doing my bit by trying to buy as much Ukrainian beer and vodka as I possibly can, obviously in the name of supporting the Ukrainian economy. I'm doing quite well so far. But the other story I quite like was that IKEA and M&S are also the latest stores to pull up or shut down their shops in Russia. And it's like, I think we should keep IKEA open, because if you ever want the distraction to keep everybody in Russia occupied, apart from kicking off World War III, get them building a Billy bookcase.
Can I ask this? We could talk about no-flies. I have to say I am concerned that it would trigger World War III, but I also have to say it's been overstated by Putin, who wants us to believe that he has the chops to go to war, and he wouldn't, I reckon, over at least a safety corridor over Western Ukraine if there was a no-fly zone. I think that's generally agreed. He does better with us having a discussion about how mad and unstable he is.
Yes.
But I want to come back to this discussion because people aren't talking about it, and it is a different angle. I wonder about this. I was going to do a thing in the summer with the Bolshoi ballet. I love Russian culture, care a lot about it. It's so rich and incredible. In the past, when Soviets had the chance to come to the West, not only would they often defect, but they would have the capacity to speak the truth more loudly and more profoundly than anybody else. And that idea, for example, is why I'm not sure about the boycott of Russian teams. Imagine them on the field. You talk about people taking the knee. If they had the capacity and freedom to express themselves, who knows what difference that might make. I'm just wondering out loud.
I mean, the Russian State Ballet of Siberia, their tour of the UK has been cancelled, and ITV has cancelled the rights of Russian TV to have I'm a Celebrity. The BBC has cancelled the rights of Russian TV to have Strictly Come Dancing. And I suppose they're their own format, so they have their own celebrities, so they don't necessarily bear a link to Britain or Western culture in how they choose to interpret those concepts. But I do think that while not letting them in things like the World Cup is the right thing to do, because that will really make Russians think about what's going on, why we're not better off in this situation, and the hope is they'll turn on Putin, and that's, I think, the only chance of ending all this. So I think those are good. But then the idea that you lose some of the cultural exchange, that you end up breeding ignorance, which only leads to more aggression, I feel like that is a slightly dangerous road to go down.
I'm hoping that, I agree with you, Benjamin. God, I hate myself.
The pain.
But I know, God, it's really hard, isn't it? But I think the more we stop them doing anything and everything, I think the more the Russian people are going to think, what is going on here? We need to do something.
Just wonder, it took a lot of isolation. I wonder the extent to which that made any meaningful difference. For example, in South Africa, some people say it did. Some people say that ultimately, that was a long, slow process that really had no cultural force, because white South Africans just simply felt more victimised, and that victimhood led them to feel more sympathy with their own government. I'm not sure they were, but I've got to, before you go, ask a question. It's a quick one. It is not Gavin Williamson who failed as being Defence Secretary for an alleged breach of national security, and being an education secretary where every teacher I know, and I know a lot of them, across the political spectrum, said that he was the worst education secretary he's ever dealt with. He's now just got a knighthood. My mum and I are getting MBEs at the end of the month together.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Oh, congratulations.
If he can get a knighthood, why shouldn't I have one?
That was a good twist at the end. It's taken a long time from you being awarded it to actually receiving it. I didn't realise it was so long.
We're waiting for the Queen.
Well, hopefully it takes so long that Sir Gavin Williamson doesn't really get it and someone changes their mind. It's just a joke. And actually, as David Aronovich, the journalist, said, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the honours list and the sanctions list with how ridiculous some of these people are.
Well, after you've got yours, I think we should do away with honours, full stop. But why? Gavin, he was sacked twice, okay? So why? Why didn't he just say no? Why didn't he think, actually, this is really not going to look good? And let's face it, he's got an award for keeping his gob shut, hasn't he?
Why do you get an honour? I don't understand this, for doing a job. I disagree with a lot of what this particular journalist said. I'm not going to know it's Peter Hitchens, who I thought very problematic piece, to say the least, the other day. One thing he was right about is, years ago, these honours used to be about things, about bravery and courage, or spending a great deal of your personal time away from your home to do things for your community. He's just got a knighthood for doing his job.
Yeah, no,
but doing his job badly. I agree with the honours system. I like that it encourages people to
You're not
do
going to be
certain
Sir
behaviours.
Benjamin, you know that.
No,
just saying.
And as a journalist, I probably wouldn't accept one because you report on the royal family. But I like the honour system in principle, but the idea that Gavin Williamson, who was objectively appalling, I refuse, that he was appalling at the job, that he's got that before Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May. The idea that prime ministers haven't had that honour, and I think that every prime minister should get it, because I think that's an incredible sacrifice, regardless of Labour or Tory. And
Boris Johnson. Hold on, Sir Boris Johnson.
Well, do you know what? If he's currently leading us through a very difficult time, and if we come through it, then I think he will have earned his knighthood from being Prime Minister.
I've got a break here. We've got breaking news. Benjamin Butterworth, senior reporter at the newspaper, believes that Boris Johnson should receive a knighthood.
But I think that's
Mic
respect
drop.
for the office.
I think it's time just to stop when you're ahead.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.